Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 Nintendo franchises that were surprisingly resurrected thanks to the Switch. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Luigi's Mansion series.
Mario is nowhere to be found. Leaving poor Luigi in bad company.
This may sound hard to believe now, but Luigi didn't get much attention outside of being the token Player 2 character. Even after the praise the original Luigi's Mansion received at launch, and the years that followed, it took well over a decade for us to get the sequel, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. The second game was less than stellar, and the 2018 remake of the first game was widely scrutinized for its gyro controls. Nintendo would give Luigi one more shot with Luigi's Mansion 3 6 years after the sequel, and good lord, was it a turnaround. Luigi's Mansion 3 sold gangbusters for several years, selling roughly 13 million copies within less than 4 years. If the HD remaster of Dark Moon is anything to go off of, Nintendo must have renewed interest in the series, although there's no telling now when we might see Luigi's Mansion 4 or a remaster of the original game. Pikmin series. The Pikmin series had a rocky dormancy throughout the 2010s. Even though Pikmin 3 launched with little fanfare on the ill-fated Wii U in 2013, Shigeru Miyamoto came out 2 years afterwards to announce Pikmin 4 was nearing completion. Then, silence. The most we saw of the IP was a spin-off on 3DS that few bothered to play, as well as a Pokemon Go clone in Pikmin Bloom, and a Switch port of Pikmin 3. At this point, many believed Pikmin 4 might have been cancelled, until it miraculously resurfaced in 2023. Oh, wow. Within the span of 9 months, Pikmin's long-awaited fourth game managed to sell 3.5 million copies, and it would become the best-selling title in the entire franchise. Perhaps this means we won't have to wait too long for a fifth entry? Mario and Luigi series. The Mario and Luigi games once saw resounding success, starting with Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance and continuing with DS sequels Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story. Once we hit the 3DS years, it all went downhill. Dream Team failed to impress anyone, neither did Paper Jam, and the remakes of Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story failed in revitalizing the IP, especially since they came after the Switch was already out. With revenue tanking, developer Alpha Dream was left with no other choice but to file for bankruptcy and close its doors in 2019. Fans were distraught, believing that their favorite RPG series was truly dead. Then, in June 2024, Nintendo made the shocking announcement of a new installment. At the time of writing, not much is known about Mario and Luigi Brothership. However, we do know that this will be the first game in the series to be rendered entirely in 3D, and the first in the series to be made for a home console. Exciting times we're living in! Another Code series. While many were too busy playing the many Mario games made for DS, very few ever got to experience the Another Code games. Only 2 games were ever made in this series, and they were both made for the DS, only to be forgotten and stranded there for the years that followed. So it was astonishing to see Nintendo and Arc System Works remake both games and bring their stories forward to Nintendo Switch in 2024.
It's been quite a while since I thought about it.
Huh. Is it normal to forget the past as you get older?
Not only were controls reworked along with brand new visuals, but Another Code Recollection even rewrote and added scenes to make the story a bit tighter than they were back in the day.
Father. D, is something wrong? Father?
Endless Ocean series. Endless Ocean found itself earning the status of cult classic for those who were always playing their Wii consoles back in the 2000s. There was something super calming about diving into the ocean and learning about underwater life. The soundtrack alone is bound to put you in a zen-like state. We'd see a sequel in 2010, although that was the last we had seen of it until 2024. Endless Ocean Luminous revived the IP on Nintendo Switch, and it sadly did not fare well in the review process. Critics weren't too pleased with the game's focus on exploration and basic controls and mechanics. Well, it was still cool to see Nintendo give one of their forgotten IPs another chance.
What will you find on your undersea journey?
Big Brain Academy series. Much like Endless Ocean and Another Code, Big Brain Academy didn't get much of a chance to shine after the glory days of the Wii and DS. We got the original game on DS, the sequel Wii Degree, and then there was a board game at one point. But that was all we got, really. So it was surprising to see Nintendo give the IP another crack 14 years later. Big Brain Academy Brain vs. Brain brought the series to Switch with a handful of minigames both old and new, and the focus on multiplayer led to some fun nights with friends to see who was the smartiest. Smarterest. Guess we need to go train our brains some more. Pokemon Snap series. Once upon a time, Pokemon Snap was nothing more than an N64 game only us millennials would cherish. Look, we couldn't help it. There was something wondrous about riding through environments and seeing Pokemon in their natural habitats instead of fighting. And after decades of wishing for a sequel, we eventually thought that day would never come. Imagine how pleasantly shocked we were when new Pokemon Snap dropped in 2021, and it was vastly bigger than the original game.
That symbol marks the spot where you'll teleport back to camp.
You had more locations to explore, more Pokemon to photograph, more items to use that could help you discover new Pokemon, more secret routes. It was kind of an overload in improvements, but we loved it regardless.
A new discovery. Nice work.
The Wars series. This series has undergone many different names, starting with Famicom Wars, then Game Boy Wars, before finally becoming Advance Wars on GBA and Battalion Wars on GameCube. This turn-based strategy series saw continuous success until Nintendo suddenly stopped making them after Days of Ruin on DS. We didn't even get a new game for the 3DS. Thankfully, Nintendo hired WayForward to remake the first 2 Advance War games, launching 1+2 Reboot Camp in 2023. Not much has been said about the sales, but longtime fans were thrilled to be able to play this long-forgotten series in some capacity, and it even came with multiplayer. Metroid series.
Get away from me!
Other M was such a disaster in how it handled Samus as a character that it very well killed the franchise for some time. Federation Force really didn't help the situation either. The awful spin-off notwithstanding, we went well over a decade before we finally got a brand new Metroid game. Not a remake, a new game. Metroid Dread was the revival we were so desperate to see. This was what everybody knew and loved about the franchise. A 2D action platformer filled with secret areas and deadly enemies to fight. Samus was back in full force, and a year and a half after Dread launched, we got a remaster of Metroid Prime. In other words, the franchise is back and bigger than it ever has been. The Famicom Detective Club series. The Famicom Detective Club series is one of Nintendo's older and most obscure IPs. The reason because of its obscurity can be easily pointed to the fact that the series has only ever had 2 games, both having only gotten remakes in 2021 for the Switch. So when the trailer for Emio the Smiling Man suddenly appeared on Nintendo's YouTube channel, many were confused, yet intrigued. An M-rated horror game from Nintendo? Excuse me?
2021年に任天堂スイッチでリメイクしたんですけども、それをやってみてね、これは絶対にファミちゃんの完全新作を作らなあかん。
Turns out Nintendo is ready to tell another chilling and horrifying tale in the Famicom Detective Club series. Emio will be the first new title in the franchise in 35 years. And it launches on August 29th, 2024. The wait is not long.
プロット作りから脚本、カットシーンの演出に至るまで細かな部分も全てやりました。
Is there a dormant IP you would like to see Nintendo revisit? Me personally, where is Rhythm Heaven? Where has that been all these years? Let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.